All right. How is everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. It's Thursday. Been having a lot of streams. Again, I have to give a big shout out to all my supporters when it came to the video studio thing. If you've been following the streams, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You guys are amazing. Can't wait to get into the new spot, build out the new studio and all of that. I'm really excited. But until then, we got to do videos like this. And where do I start with these guys, man? So I posted, this is a couple of days ago. Well, actually yesterday morning. So Dean, whose last name, unfortunately, I would butcher, so I'm just going to call him Dean. And the hashtag popped off the whole I voted for Hillary Clinton thing. Okay, all right, whatever. And he says Republicans give us tax cuts for the wealthy and wars. Democrats give us Medicare, ACA, SS. Hashtag I voted for Hillary Clinton. Now, all of what he named is garbage, right? All that needs to be abolished. The fact that they brag about that, both of those, all three of those, is something else. But it's garbage. Now, Dean, who, again, we follow each other, to be fair, believe it or not, I don't have my timeline consumed with just a bunch of people that I agree with all the time. But this was so just ridiculous, but it does go to show how these guys disappeared for 8 years, just like they had blinders on for 8 years during Obama's presidency. We talked about this in stream, right? Even the guys on the opposite side, the more mainstream conservative, quote, Republicans, whatever you want to call them, and they perpetuated this idea that Obama just was this teddy bear when it came to his foreign policy, right? He's too weak, all of it, like, and again, they were also feeding into this narrative, like they were acting like Obama was a teddy bear because his party members and the people that supported him acted like that. Obama was far from that. And it's intellectually dishonest to suggest otherwise. This man bombed, objectively speaking, more countries than Bush, who a lot of people would consider more of a warmonger. How Obama gets away with it, I don't know. Syria, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, dropping bombs like they're going out of style, bro. Just dropping them things. Striking hospitals. Got a Nobel Peace Prize. Attacked another Nobel Peace Prize when it was Doctors Without Borders. Like, this man has set the scene for a lot of what we see today. And people will argue that Bush did before him. But the difference is that while, you know, I have no problem calling out what Bush did, right? And calling him, well, I'm not going to disagree with anybody that calls him a warmonger. But he bombed the countries that he did, Obama that is, plus additional ones. So this nonsense that, Republicans give you war, but the Democrats don't? But they're asleep. And now, because of what happened with Iran, I talked about this as well in the last stream, the anti-war left has reemerged. Blinders were on. They did not see anything. I have no idea. What's that bird box? That's the Democrats, right? They have they act like they couldn't see nothing for 8 years. And now they've reemerged. God dog it, man. Now look, there is basically a larger thing I want you guys to be taking into consideration, not just the whole Democrats versus Republicans. Yes, Obama was a piece of garbage. I have no problem saying Trump's the same thing. Piece of garbage. Not a supporter of either of them. But when you look at the war efforts that a lot of people have issues with when it comes to America's foreign policy, them being involved in nations, regime changes, the nation building, policing the world, the problem does not get resolved when you have their constituents, when you have people that support these guys, not holding their feet to the fire, but more so playing sides. And that is, if my side does it, they have R or D next to their name, I will either ignore it or justify it. Which is what they, well, it's different. Well, Obama didn't lead us into war until a lot. What are you talking? Where were you at, man? Where were you at? They'll talk around it. But the issue doesn't get resolved so as long as you guys are playing for the different teams. Instead of acting based on principle. And that is, you see something wrong with this. You recognize some of the issues that comes with, okay, policing the world, building bases all around certain countries. And some of this stuff and what happens in the Middle East isn't something that started within the last decade, to be completely fair. Some of it is, some of it absolutely has, but you know, it's not something that just started in terms of definitely with Iran. But if you recognize that it is as an issue, you see a problem with it, there's nothing wrong with standing on this principle. But Dean, unfortunately, and guys like him are so hell-bent on, I hate everything Trump. The only reason that they are taking that position is because it's Trump. If Obama did the same thing, they would have justified it, called him this great, strong leader, sort of like what you saw with, even elimination of even with Bin Laden, really. It's like they'll congratulate war efforts, right? They'll congratulate not necessarily just war efforts or let's say assassinations, if you will, but they'll congratulate being in other countries' business, right? And being aggressive in that regard. Now, this doesn't mean that you got to co-sign the stuff that other countries are doing. No, don't do that. Like I said, two things can be true. Those guys in those countries can be pieces of garbage in terms of their leadership. This is the problem with war. Unfortunately, a lot of people are having wars waged against each other, and most people within the geographical area don't want it, but they're unfortunately are the guys that are going to get hurt. So as leaders getting into these measuring contests. Nonetheless, two things can be true. Both of them, you can have U.S. military and their militaristic efforts and be bad along with the other guys. It's terrorist organizations and such who absolutely torture and kill their own people. But if you got an issue with sort of this escalation, policing the world, being involved in everybody's business, you got to be consistent, man. And that sounds like something that should be a no-brainer. But unfortunately, it's not, because you have people like Dean who were asleep for 8 years. They couldn't dare criticize Barack Obama on that, and they act like it didn't exist. So it's just laughable when something like what happened recently, and that happens, and then they're like, well, this is what you get when you get What did we get when we got much of the same thing? We got much of the same thing with Barack Obama. Where were you at? Where were you at? But again, that's sort of what we're at. So I encourage you guys, no matter what side of the fence that you claim to be on. Like me, I'm not a centrist either. Like, I'm not one of those guys who tries to straddle the fence, like, or anything like that. I just believe that what you guys consider mainstream conservatism or mainstream progressivism is, I'm not going to say they're the same, because they're not, but I ain't on their team. I ain't their allies, right? And I think they get a lot of stuff wrong for different reasons. and get different things wrong. But the issue, even on things that people can objectively see, not necessarily objectively, but you guys can see it as a less than preferable position with being involved in everybody's business. That issue would never get resolved so as long as everybody's playing for it's just their team. Put the blinders on when he got whatever next to his name, and then when it changes, oh, well, look at all these bad things happening around. Get principled, man. That's all I'm asking, man. That's all I'm asking.